Anthony, the left back, and things like that. But reality of it is, we got the job done, and it goes down as a big tick.
You've got to write about something like this. Where do you start? Once it goes into extra time and then you see that breakaway, I mean, your match report's out the window about 4 times, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't writing live, which is a rarity, which I was absolutely delighted about. And one of my other colleagues said, oh, thank God this isn't a runner, which you basically got to write it as it's going. But yeah, I mean, it's not a game that makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways, but... I'm with Maze. I mean, I think it's probably the best game since Sir Alex Ferguson retired, and I think it's a reminder of sort of the power of Old Trafford when it's in sort of full voice. I mean, it was like a special place to be on Sunday, and I've been very lucky. I've done some sort of remarkable games, in 20, 25 years in the job, and that was absolutely up there with the best of them.
It's interesting. There's a lot of people that compare the atmosphere with other Manchester United games that they've seen. For me, I'm not sure I've heard Old Trafford quite like that since Barcelona in 2008. But some people go back.
When Ronaldo came back, I mean that was an extraordinary atmosphere that day. I think that it reminded me of that. I thought
maybe even Scott scoring the winner against City late on.
First game back after
the COVID, was it?
Yeah.
Listen, it was an unbelievable achievement by the lads. I mean, to put the shifting they put in, every single. I said the week before, everybody has to play a 9, 10 out of 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, and everybody did. If you didn't turn up, we'd have got beat. But I tell you what, the heart and the desire, the fight, to trust each other as well, was unbelievable, and it just goes to show how they can do it when they need to do it. And, Erik ten Hag must be scratching his head at times thinking, why can't they do that every week? Why can't they put that shift in every week? Every single fan is probably saying the same thing. They've got it in them. He's getting it out of them. And if they played that way, they showed that. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a little bit gung-go at times. Most of the times. I mean, I've never seen Harry Maguire centre forward that many times. But I tell you what, it just showed what it meant to the fans and to the club and to themselves, that they can do it. And they've got to do that again and again and again.
Harry Maguire going on 40-yard runs shouting, hit me on the diagonal, was one of the highlights for me. Absolutely brilliant. I think the other highlight is just how much of an impact the academy players had in that game specifically. We'll start with Kobbie Mainoo, who was sat deep, then he wasn't sat deep. Some of the bits of trickery and skill and ability from Kobbie to go past Liverpool players. I know that you spoke about this on Talk of the Devils just yesterday. It was a delight to watch goal.
He's 18 years of age, and I just keep saying that when he does things, you're not supposed to be able to do that at 18 years of age. It's normally academy prospects come through and they want to do nutmegs, they want to do their tricks, they want to have long-range shots from outside the box, and it's all about flash. But the thing about Mainoo is it's not just that he's doing all the foot rolls and nutmegs. He also has the wherewithal to put his head up and go, what's the sensible pass to do next? He can do that big, long crossfield pass, but he also understands sometimes it's just better to do the 5-yard pass in front. He's really precise in a way that you're not supposed to be at 18. You're supposed to have adrenaline and hormones and testosterone telling you, go, 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 go. And he's the one who's actually going, no, I'm going to calm it down. I'm going to be really, really cool. There was a little bit in the second half where Endo tried going through his back to take the ball off him. And he mainly sort of feinted one way, went to the right, protected the ball with his right foot. And then when he realised Elliott was coming towards him, he backheeled the ball forward onto his left foot. And I was like, where do you learn that at 18 years of age? That combination. And then he just looked up and went, okay, and now I'm going to pass to Harry Maguire. It's just an absurd teenager.
Listen, I love him. I've liked him for a long time, and I actually think his best position is playing in the 10 because he can create. We've not seen him score many goals. You think of the Wolves goal. He's been doing that in the 18s and previous and the 21s. With ease, the youth cup run they had, some of the times he picked the ball up on the edge of the box and he danced through a few. So the fact he can play in as a holding role, as a 6, he can play as the 8 where he gets up and down, and now we're just starting to see little bits of magic feet on the edge of the box and the way he goes past people. And he's funny because when the camera pans to his face, it's almost like, yeah, this is what I do. You know, it's not a joy in it as like, oh, I've done something that I don't normally do. He's just dead like, yeah, that's what I do. So he's just top. He's got so much more to come as well.
So much fun to watch.
He has got a 35-year-old head on a young body. Carl just said there about the way he plays, the way he controls the game. He can speed it up, he can slow it down. For that, as an 18-year-old, it's so hard to learn that. That's a gift, and he's got that. He is a phenomenal player.
So, if Kobbie Mainoo is the calm and the control, Alejandro Garnacho was the energy yesterday. Have you? On Sunday, he was non-stop, go for the entire game. But I think where he comes into his own, James, is in the extra time period where everybody else is starting to get a little bit tired, and he's still got the ability to go on 3, 4, 5, 6 full length of the pitch sprints. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean he's got a remarkable engine in, and the control I think with it still. I think there's been he started I think every game, hasn't he, since the end of October, which I think is a real reflection both of the trust that they have in him, but also his sort of maturity. You know, he's maturing as a player now. He is making, you know, more better decisions more regularly, and I often think a sort of a measure of a sort of a United forward is, do you want to play against him? And you don't. If you're a fullback, you don't want to be playing against Garnacho because he's going to pick the ball up and he's going to keep running at you and he's going to keep running at you. And there's an element of that sort of exuberance of youth, but I think sort of with Garnacho and with Mainoo and a different type of player, obviously Højlund, but I think they look like Man United players. They look like they belong, and yes, they're young, but you know, historically the club has produced those players that deal with it at a very, very young age and take it on the shoulders and don't think it's anything out of the ordinary. And he's an exhilarating player, proper sort of get you off the seat, and he's reveling in it at the moment. And I think that's another big sort of staging post in his development.
The one thing I really like about Garnacho is he's never seen a defender he's scared of. And he's not the biggest, he's not the quickest, and there have been games this season where much stronger centre-backs have just blocked his way, but he just bounces back up and goes, no, I'm going to try again. Every time I get the ball, I'm going to run at you, and you're either going to stop me or get a yellow card because you're so annoyed at how much I'm running at you. And there have been times where United have found it really hard to get out their own half, but Garnacho has very much been, you know, if you give it to Garnacho, you know you can get an extra 5 yards. You might get that free kick in the opposite half, and it's just such a valuable outball during times of pressure.
And as a youngster, you make mistakes. You don't necessarily make the right decisions. We were talking before we came on air about when that breakaway comes in the 120th minute, you're wanting the decision that Garnacho makes on that break to be the right decision. And it is, and I think that we're starting to see that more and more from him. The right decisions in the right positions, and feeding Ahmad the way that he did obviously leads to the jubilation at the end of that game.
Unbelievable, and that was exactly my thought. As Ahmad nicks it and he's the one running, I'm thinking, Ahmad, get up alongside him. And then it's just about the timing of your pass, the weight of your pass, and he did it right. Bearing in mind, you run 120 minutes, you're tired. You know, you've played a part in all of the other 3 goals. And, you know, the first 2 goals. And then you obviously got the presence of mind to be able to do that as well.
Is that the thing, Danny? In that moment, that pass just becomes so much harder because of the 120 minutes and everything else.
You're running 50, 60 yards. You've got the right decision to make. And as the defender's trying his best, and he's not done too badly, Bradley. You know, he's sort of keeping his distance but trying to press in the hope that some of the Liverpool defenders get back with him. But then he's aware of Ahmad, so he has to almost draw Bradley in and then release the pass, and he does it. The timing of it's brilliant.
He almost gets it wrong though. So all of that going on,
the first touch.
No, it's the pass in. He's almost slightly behind Ahmad. Ahmad has to readjust, and they're the margins, right? He's done enough in that situation after 120 minutes, which is better than 99% of people would be able to do.
Yeah, and even, like I say, the other goals, not every one of them's a clean assist, but it's him trying to make something happen. Every single time he cuts in and shoots, obviously Scott gets one, for Anthony as well. So he's involved in them all. He's trying to make something happen. It's not just a case of get up to a defender or defender's in the way, I'll turn out and go back out. It's I'm coming at you and I want to make something happen.
I think the fact as well, he's gone 120 minutes and Ahmad is struggling to keep up with him. Not so much struggling to keep up with him, but he's out on his backside really, putting the shift he's put in, and yet he's still sprinting as fast as he could. I mean, it was.
And you'd have dealt with him, wouldn't you?
Oh, mate, I mean, if I was the defender, I'd have come out and tried to wipe him clear. I'd have made a decision on the halfway line. I would have tried to have done that.
Take the red.
Take the red. Take anything, yeah. But, everything that's going through your head as a centre forward, I've never been in that position, or as a winger like that. But those decisions are like so quick to think, and the way to pass, everything about it. As I said, 120 minutes in your legs, you're blowing through your backside, you're sprinting as fast as you can, and you've got to play that pass. And it's only 5-10 yard pass, but it's got to be so precise. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
You're also battling with you being the hero in that moment, because you can carry on.
Yeah.
You can carry on and beat him.
Yeah.
Use Ahmad as a decoy.
There must have been 3 or 4 things going through his mind.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But he made the right decision.
He did, yeah.
Clarity of thought is absolutely brilliant. It leads to Ahmad scoring that goal that obviously sends Old Trafford into absolute rapture. It was brilliant. However, we then get to the red card, okay, or the second yellow at least for Ahmad. And obviously, it's in the laws of the game. Obviously, if you take off your shirt, it's well known. The law has been in place since, I think, 2004 now, where if you take off your shirt, you get a yellow card. But it doesn't have sanitise the game of any kind of emotion. So the question that I've got for you is, do we need to have another look at this rule that basically takes the emotion out of the game? Like, you're preventing those overt displays of absolute joy in those minutes, James?
I think I actually feel for the referee in those instances, because he's got to apply the law. Of course he is, and I think you could tell it was like, I don't want to do this, but I've got to do it. And Bruno Fernandes actually spoke after the game and said they need to actually really look at that rule. And I think in that moment, I mean, it's a law made by someone who I'm not sure fully grasps what's going on. I don't understand what the issue is about taking the shirt off. I mean, it's not an offensive gesture. I don't quite understand, the
initial rule was for time wasting and to limit players' ability to release any form of inflammatory statement underneath their shirts.
Which is, but I mean, the thing is with that, I mean, obviously they're doing that. They can deal
very famously.
Yeah, but they can deal with that separately. Yeah, but I mean, how many times does that happen? Not often. And if that happens, they can deal with that sort of separately. I mean, there's far worse time wasting going on than a shirt celebration. I don't really actually see how it wastes that much more time.
It's just another way of killing the game. Sending him off for a reason, for that is pathetic. And I get that, yes, it's in the law and he's got to apply the letter of the law. But you have to understand that it's the 120th minute of the feistiest cup, sixth round of
Ahmed himself said he forgot he was booked. And in that moment, he's probably not thinking about that first yellow card he's got. Now, would a more experienced player have made the same decision? Maybe not. But he was still lost in the moment, and he probably felt it was just an instinctive thing to do.
That's where you hit the nail on the head. It's the emotion of the moment. Whatever you do, sometimes you'll do something with the emotion of a late goal or something, and you actually don't remember what you've done. Or it's not. Yes, when you look back, you go, "Why did I do that?" And I think it's just the emotion. You're looking in the crowd and the energy that's coming off, and your players are jumping on you. All of that emotion. You can't sit and be going through the rule book in an office somewhere and say, actually, yeah, that's that. We should not have shirts off. Or, it doesn't make sense. The two don't marry.
Very easy to do when you're a rule maker in IFAB's, boardroom. Much more difficult to comply to when you've scored a 120th minute winner against your huge rivals in an FA Cup tie that takes you to Wembley. They're two very different things. The question, I suppose, is can you allow a referee a little bit of common sense in those situations, or are you, in doing that, allowing for potentially wrong decisions? Does it have to be binary? Is the question?
The referee has to apply the rule.
Yeah, I think the referee has to apply the rule, and we've spent so much time in the last couple of seasons talking about VAR and shades of grey. This rule, I don't mind if it stays in place. I said before, I think it's a really funny red card. I think it's really funny. I know, the emotion of the game, it probably adds to the emotion. I've seen the video of a man walking down the tunnel now 3 or 4 times, and no one at Old Trafford is sad. No one is angry. I've seen 2 or 3 members of United's executive staff, so people who normally wear suits and have normally stern faces, and tell me to go away, and they've all got the biggest smile I've ever seen I've ever seen them do. So no one's angry at Matt.
But I don't agree with that, because that will fade. Say it had been Højlund that had done that, and you go into Brentford or Garnacho, key player, or Mainu, whoever it is, and they're ruled out. And I'm sure Ahmad won't be laughing about it when it comes round to the Brentford game, having played like that. And I think the other thing is you've got to sort of appreciate maybe his backstory this season. Terrible injury, not really had the opportunity that I think he thinks he should have had, and even the manager alluded afterwards that his training performances have deserved more time. So he was caught up in the emotion. This would be a great game for him to now bounce into, and that is sort of taken away. So I don't agree. I think it's a wrong rule that needs to be changed.
Yeah, I think I would be inclined to agree. One of the brilliant things, and I don't know whether this was actually the case, but it did look for all the world like Scott McTominay had run over, tried to shield him out from the referee, and tried to get him to put his shirt back on, which I just thought was absolutely brilliant. Look, let's move on, shall we? Because what this does is puts Manchester United into a semi-final against Coventry. That gives them a real chance of making it through to an FA Cup final and potentially fighting out for that trophy, which could be absolutely huge. But they've also got a big job on in the league, Manchester United, and actually with the results that have happened elsewhere, all of a sudden a top 5, maybe even a top 4 finish doesn't look like it's necessarily out of the picture. So I'm going to give everybody round here a choice. Would you like an FA Cup trophy in the cabinet or a top 4 finish in the Premier League?
Trophy all day.
Both. Well, no, to trophy, if we want to continue getting that winning feeling, that winning habit. Of course, we want to play in the Champions League next season, without a shadow of a doubt. But for me, that winning feeling, fans being at Wembley, putting it right from last year where we didn't win the FA Cup would be nice.
Right, the 2 ex-pros have both picked trophy. Let's see what the journalists go with. James?
I don't like the question, because the whole choice thing is I don't think players think like that at all. But I'd go trophy, with the caveat that if they don't get in the Champions League this season, given the sort of tight financial constraints we're already facing, the loss of that money is very significant in terms of the next sort of year or so. So I suppose you're having to weigh up, the limitations it will place financially and what they'll be able to do in the market versus that sort of winning feeling again. I'd still go with the winning feeling. And I also think it's a more realistic option still than the top 4 or 5 at the moment.
If you're a player, you'd look back over your career at Manchester United and you go, I missed out on the Champions League that year. Oh, you go, won the FA Cup that year, all day long. All day.
You're absolutely right to call me out on asking terrible questions, by the way. You do get a say here on the terrible. Yeah, I know. Well, you sit next to me an awful lot, don't you?
Trophy. It has to be a trophy. I'm with Danny in that the way last season's FA Cup final went down left a bit of a sour taste. So I think the opportunity to make things right there, maybe even a rematch with Manchester City, would be interesting. I think there are a couple of players in that squad that want to go back to Wembley, want to fix things, and they've got a pretty decent record with Ten Hag now. So
it won't be easy, by the way. It will not be easy.